So one of the ways that the Titanic story has seeped into our cultural consciousness is through some phrases that we still use that in many cases originated with that situation. So I want to explore some of those phrases and see what they might offer us even now. So the first one is that we talk about rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. And that's become a common phrase that's used to describe a situation when we're making small changes to effectively Titanic problems. The cynic in me, the cynic in many people might say that a lot of politics in America is like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Whether you have a Republican Congress or a Democratic Congress, from one perspective and to a certain extent, is just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic if we don't address the larger, the bigger issue. So that's become an important phrase for us to describe when we tinker with things, when really require much more radical, much more holistic solutions. Now, another one of the phrases that has come into our consciousness is the tip of the iceberg. Now, you can only see the tip of an iceberg in the ocean, and that's part of why they're dangerous, because a ship doesn't even necessarily realize, can't see the extent or the size of the iceberg that's there. So we often describe problems as saying, well, that's only the tip of the iceberg, meaning there's a lot more to that needs to be addressed. Now, the fact that you can't see many of the icebergs in the Antarctic like you used to, even that itself is only the tip of the iceberg of an ecological problem, a massive global iceberg that unless we address the way we live, the way we act towards the earth, our policies around energy and resources, there's a much greater iceberg coming. So that's another important phrase. Another phrase that comes probably from the Titanic is women and children first. And apparently the captain was heard saying that, women and children first. Well, I think if I understand the story of the Titanic well, there were probably some other factors in play as well as women and children. There was also class. So it's interesting to note how many men from first class actually survived the Titanic, when even women and children in second and third class didn't survive. So women and children first is another phrase that's come into our consciousness that asks the question of us, what are our priorities? Where are we willing to sacrifice? Where's our integrity? And all those sorts of things. Maybe my favorite phrase to come out of the Titanic story is the band played on. I'm going to talk a bit about this later. But this phrase, it comes out of the notion that there were 8 musicians who stayed playing on the Titanic even as the ship went down. Incredible act of heroism. You know, their courage has been written about and spoken about for all of these hundreds of years, for this 100 years. And it's really a phrase that signifies being willing to keep going, persevere, play on, even when things seem hopeless. Even when you can't see your way forward, play on. Keep going. Persevere. Find that heroic spirit within you, just like those musicians who kept playing on even as that ship went down. So there's some of the phrases, I'm sure there are others, but there are just some of the phrases that stay with us and remind us of some of the great lessons of the Titanic.